Purple eye in the canyon. That's where I.
God, you
Like
can
you're saying.
they don't even have to lyrically be saying anything about it, but there's something that
there.
happens.
Yep.
Whether it's like Gary Allen,
Mm-hmm.
or I mean, I say Dwight. Dwight kind of, there was definitely some stuff.
1,000 Miles from Nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, that was like shot in a desert.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And then, so Dierks Bentley, I was always like, I grew up listening to Dierks a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Now in hindsight, listening to some of his records, I don't love them. Sometimes the remembrance of them is like better than.
Very true.
And now when I go listen to it, I'm not as crazy about it, but for some reason those always struck me as, and he's from Arizona.
Interesting.
So they always struck me as having, like, before I even knew enough about it, it just felt like I identified with it to a certain degree.
Really? So like
Isn't that
earlier
weird?
stuff of his?
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
If you maybe that kind of like every mile's a memory.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about that song.
That
yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you mean.
Isn't that weird?
That's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's like it's like artists and creatives, it comes out of them in weird ways,
Yep.
It's almost like that.
Being close to home. It's almost like being an artist.
It's almost like being an artist, which is kind of a weird word nowadays.
It's certainly I don't know what it means anymore. I know what it means to me, I know what my artistry is. I don't, well, meaning like I know what the focus is, you know what I mean? I know where the target is, and I miss that mark a lot,
So
But-
you're disappointed more than you're.
You know how it is. I mean, it's just one of those things that like, you got to come back to it. You write a song either by yourself or with another one or two people. And, the reason why I co-write, well, number one, I co-write because that's what I always wanted to do since I was a kid. Like I always wanted to be a published songwriter, because, I grew up in that time where like Garth Brooks' first album came out, and he was pretty quick to tell you who wrote The Dance and who wrote If Tomorrow Never Comes. And so like that was the first time that I actually saw that there are people that I've never seen or heard that are creating this music that guys like Garth Brooks is playing. And so like, I thought that because, like we were talking about earlier, like the performance thing, I enjoy it, but I'm the most critical of myself performing, and I don't feel like I'm a performance artist, not at all. I feel like I probably like I fall short really bad on that aspect of it.
Are you, when you're performing on stage, it might ebb and flow, but are you typically like really in it and super in the moment, just trying, or I guess enjoying it? Or are you more like analyzing yourself, watching yourself, just going like, I
think both of it goes on.
Okay.
I think there's that both of those voices exist simultaneously in my head. It's just a matter of which one I'm listening to. And, sadly, there are days that I listen to the critical one more than I listen to the other one. But even like when I'm getting into it, like I stay in my head about it. You know what I mean? Like not like if I'm focusing on the song, like it's almost like me and no one else, which it should be the polar opposite. It should be me and everyone else. It should be this connection between artist and audience. That's the energy. That's where the energy comes from. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This whole idea that you are just up there.
Yeah.
Like the brooding songwriter in the corner that like
That's
doesn't
me.
ever say a word. That is you.
Yeah, but it's a stupid thing to do.
Oh, okay. You don't
know what
like
I mean?
that about
I don't
okay.
like that about myself.
Yeah, okay.
Because nobody wants to be brooding. I mean, what have I got to be brooding about? I got a great life, man. This is too fun to brood,
Yeah, because it is I guess the elephant in the room is like, it would look like you don't care if anybody's there, but yet you wouldn't be doing that if there was nobody there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. If they weren't here, you wouldn't be here. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm not really doing this for myself,
I
do it from like the ideas come from myself. I write them for myself, but I play them for people to hope that they relate.
Yeah, totally.
And that's your audience.
Yeah, it can be, there's not mutually exclusive. Some people put it in a category where it's like it's only for you. Like you don't care what anybody thinks. I'm like, that's BS.
Yeah, right.
Because like if you were on a desert island and you were never going to see another human for the rest of your life, I know I wouldn't probably try to write songs as much as I do.
I try to get off the island.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a good thought.
You know,
But
I know what you mean though.
yeah.
The songwriting's not. Yeah.
So I can't say like I don't care what anybody thinks.
Right.
No, it's like a communal experience.
If you're here because you care what somebody thinks. You know what I mean? Like you're putting yourself out there to be in front of folks for something, you know, like nobody's forcing anybody to do it.
Yeah. So it seems like to me, you can still be true to yourself and just do what you want to do and what moves you while still being okay with other people enjoying it as well. I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of similarities with people. I guess the pandering comes in when you do stuff you don't want to do just for the attention. Which for me, I feel like we're in a very, I say that. I think we've always been in a pretty pandering. It's showbiz.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's always been pandering.
But there have always been outliers too, though. You know what I mean?
What do you mean, like real authentic?
Yeah, the authenticity's always been there, you know. It's just a matter of, and I don't feel like it's getting any less attention than it did, you know. I was talking to Irv Woolsey about something before he passed away, and he said, that was back in the, you know, told the story and said that was back in the 50s when we didn't make any money on records. And I said, man, you didn't make any money on records in the 50s? Like, I thought that was when everybody made money on records, but I mean, nobody makes money on records. Nobody does. It's not even a conversation anymore, you know, like there's just no money in the actual like exchange, like the provide service, sell to customer version of like music. Like it's not dead by any means, but it's not the profitable aspect of it, you know.
Man, Irv, how did you meet him?
So Alan Mitchell, the guy that's managing me now, was Irv's guy. And so I'm managed under Irv Woolsey. So, I mean, that's kind of how we met, but I met him through a couple of different people, you know. He's got Losers. And I mean, you know what I mean? If you went up there to Losers and I mean, you just sit for a couple of hours and you'd see Irv, you know, I mean, he was always there. It's his place.
Yeah. Is it still like in his family?
I don't know. Good question. Clint, his son, is kind of taking over the agency. Like it's Clint and Allen.
Okay.
So, but as far as the bar goes, I don't know how they handled that.
Huh.
I don't go there. I mean, I have an apartment there that's like right behind it.
So did he manage you?
Irv never did.
Oh,
no.
okay.
We just didn't. I mean, that was the intention, but he passed away. So.
Yeah. Well, I guess. So what was the initial entrance into like that kind of more traditional Nashville world
For me?
Yeah.
Miranda Lambert.
Well, how did you meet her?
So I was playing at in New Braunfels, and it was a place called. It used to be called Tavern on the Green. It's over there, like in Green. If you're coming from the highway and if it's coming from the interstate, and you go into Green, like it's right there on the right. There's a pool there, like the same road that Green Hall's on. So I was playing there on Tuesday. So Ray Wiley and Matson Rayner do this thing on KMBT. It's like their Roots and Branches show. And so I played it and she walked in and, you know, what she said that their car had broken down. They were on vacation. Her and her mother were on vacation in New Braunfels. So their car broke down and they couldn't get it fixed that day. So they just got a place to stay and were going to get the car the next day. And so they were like, well, that place is open. Let's go get a drink. And Casey Musgraves was with them too. So it was Miranda's mother and Casey Musgraves. They all walked in, and this was when I had my first two records. I had my 21 to Enter record, which is like, that's like 2002. And then 6th Street is an EP. That was 2004. And I just finished the original version of Different Groove, which I recorded that in LA with Pete Anderson. Anyway, sorry, I digress. But yes, so I finished my set. She came up and introduced herself to me, and I, you know, nice to meet you. And I gave her a CD, and like 2 weeks later, I was playing her birthday party, or I was invited to play her birthday party. And then she got me to Frank Liddell, and that's how I signed my first publishing deal.
How quickly did that happen to a publishing deal from meeting her?
About a year, maybe less.
So she sat there and watched your whole set, or she came in like halfway in the middle
She came in, yeah, kind of. The thing is, like, I was playing, and then I looked to my right, and like she was there.
What year do you think this was?
This was, oh So I guess it was 08, 09,
Yeah.
maybe. I think I put, yeah.
So
I
she'd
think
have been
so.
like kind of breaking right then.
This was second album, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend album.
Did she essentially break on her first one to a degree?
That was a good record. Yeah. Kerosene was on that record.
That's right.
And Me and Charlie Talkin' was on that record.
But it still had like an underground kind of thing festering, right?
I think so, yeah. Because she came from the show. She came from that Nashville Star show.
Miranda did?
Uh-huh.
How did I miss that?
Well, I mean, she didn't win it.
Because
but
Casey kind of had some show, right?
the year after, yeah, same thing.
It's same
Nashville
show.
Star.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. Yep.
So
Buddy
okay.
Jewell won the first year, and then the second year, a guy named Brad Cotter won, who's from my hometown. Brad's
Really?
from Opelika, yeah. And then I can't remember who won the third year, and then it kind of fizzled out after that. But yeah, she was on. I think she was on the season that Brad. No, that's not true. She was on the first season.
How many people do you think was at that gig?
Oh, I mean, probably not 40. I mean, it was a radio station, so there were people there. But at the same time, like. It's a small place.
Did people recognize her?
I don't know. I don't remember any of that stuff.
Okay.
I don't remember. Kind of. I think so, because I feel like that we did the radio show, and like afterwards, I feel like that she and Casey got up and sang some songs and stuff like that.
Whoa.
But that's back when I was drinking, and so everything's kind of blurry pictures. You know what I mean?
So she approached you afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really complimentary.
She was super cool. Yeah. I mean, she just came up and said, "Hey, my name's Miranda,"
Yeah.
So, and I mean, yeah, it's that, like I said, I gave her a CD and went home, and then her mother called and was like, "We can't stop listening to this CD. We love it." And I mean, we've been friends ever since. And her grandparents, her parents, they live in Lindale, and so we stay with them when we're on the road and stuff like that.
So that would have been your initial entrance into
Nashville.
Co-writing?
Not co-writing necessarily. I was the Different Groove record. I was in LA. I didn't live there, but like for 3 years, I went back and forth from Opelika, Alabama to Burbank and made that record with Pete. It took forever, but that was probably, that wasn't my first experience with co-writing either. Justin Johnson, who plays bass in my band, we did the 6th Street record together, and we wrote "Play Something We Know," which is, we wrote "Play Something We Know." But that was really it. I hadn't really written any songs before that with other people. So I learned a lot with Pete, though.
Okay. But now I guess it's a different compartment for you, for somebody to actually cut your song, to get a cut. Is that like a different term?
No, it's still the same. Like when people record your stuff.
Yeah. Is that can you, like, so if you co-wrote one,
mm-hmm.
would that be called getting a cut?
No.
Okay.
If the cuts are when a major label artist records your songs, like when a song that you wrote goes on, and it doesn't have to be major, but when somebody bigger than you,
but it's one that you wrote,
that's the cut. Yeah, those are cuts.
But you could have potentially co-wrote that cut.
Yes.
But it's just you didn't co-write it with the artist.
Correct. Or you did, maybe. You could, because
okay.
That's the thing nowadays, like songs aren't really cut in writers' rooms as much as they are. The artists record the songs they write with their friends quicker than they'll record songs that, you know what I mean? Because, and rightfully so. I mean,
that they just hear somewhere. Yeah.
Because you got to go through it. However, there's a lot of great songs out there, I mean, in a lot of publishing catalogs, and man, there's some great songs out there.
It seemed, I don't know enough about the business, but it seems like are people unwilling to allow like kind of a somewhat of an edit of the song? Like, for instance, there's certain words and like certain autobiographical things and certain details that if an artist was just allowed to like adjust some of those things, kind of make it a little bit their own.
It wouldn't bother me.
It wouldn't bother me a bit.
Yeah. And so, I mean, maybe it has to do with the guy that's doing the writing, what I mean? And I don't know very many people that aren't. Well, there are. I mean, I can't say anybody specifically, but there are writers that are like, "This is what I wrote. Don't touch it."
Okay.
And understandable. I get it. I don't feel like, I don't know. Well, you know how it is. I mean, if another person wants to take ownership of your song, like creative ownership of your song. I mean, it's kind of up to their interpretation. You know what I mean? Like they can't, I don't expect everybody to be able to sing like me, and I don't expect anybody to be able to play like me, or like, you may say this, you may say something different phrasing than I do, so those things don't bother me. Now, granted, the chorus is the chorus, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't change the hook line, but you can drop it a key. And, we've been in situations before where people have called and said, we would like to hear this, and usually they'll go to the writers first and say, okay, here's what we think. Here's a line that we don't like. Can you change it? And we either will or we won't.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what was your first big cut then from that point on?
I got a song recorded called Be Somebody. A guy named Danny Goki recorded it.
He was also
he was on American Idol.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, because this would have been the time period that everybody was coming out of those things, right?
Mm-hmm. And there was still, people, it seemed like people were coming out of those things, getting record deals, and like things were working. And then all of a sudden it just kind of, I don't know. I don't know if it still works anymore. I guess it does. I mean, the show still exists. I don't watch it, but it exists. The voice still exists.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the benefit is in the after, if you win or lose. Or
how did getting that cut come about? Do you know?
I don't. That was actually cut in a pitch meeting. That was, because this was 2010, so that was back when things were different in Nashville.
So 08, about 08, you met Miranda.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got a pub deal about a year later.
Yeah, with Frank Liddell, the guy, and Frank was producing her albums then, so that's kind of where that came from.
And Frank's been around a long time.
A long time, yeah.
I feel like Frank just produced Parker McCollum's new record.
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. He's pretty great.
Is he?
Yeah, he's a great guy to work with. Yeah.
I mean, he's been a part of all sorts of incredible stuff.
Yep.
Did he do some Gary Allan stuff?
Maybe. I can't remember.
Okay.
It's possible. I
Okay.
mean, a lot of the country stuff he did. But when I was at Carnival, it was still small, but like Bruce Robinson was still there, and I was there for a year, and then Brent Cobb came in second. And he and I were kind of inseparable as far as like writing goes, so I had a partner.
Yeah.
Which is really helpful, and a partner that's really creative. You know what I mean? Brent's his notion of an idea is like verse chorus. And to me, like, you wrote verse chorus, just write the second verse,
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you kind of, if you wrote if the verse and the chorus are finished and you did it by yourself, like, that's your song, man.
Yeah, my idea of an idea is like, la la la.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, second verse half as long, so it's kind of cheating, which I'll take it,
Yeah.
I like the fact that he has those ideas and I can just come in, and I feel like I'm a good second verse writer.
Why do you think so?
I don't know. Because I think second verses that's where I learned how to write songs. You know what I mean? And because we used to listen to them back then, And, you know what I mean? Like a second verse had like it, because you think about it, like it's really the thing that like that's where you're that's where the plot thickens, no matter what the scenario, but it just doesn't get the attention. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I was just kind of always fascinated by them.
Do you think they don't get the appropriate amount of attention because people aren't spending the appropriate amount of time writing them?
100%.
Oh.
Not writing. I think just folks don't listen that long.
Oh, okay. What do you think there's a part of me that thinks they don't listen long enough because the song wasn't quite good enough to keep them in it. A lot of times.
Yeah.
At least with a lot of my stuff.
Oh, come on. Yeah, that's true. That it's hard though. It's hard to, but like we were talking about earlier, like you kind of can't, it's almost like you can't look at it like that. You know what I mean? Like you can't really go, okay, I've got 4 lines to really get them. But people do, but I can't look at it like that. I have to say, okay, what do I want to say? If I'm sitting down to write a song, what's driving me to do this? And usually it's an idea that won't leave me alone, And so that in turn creates the cultivation process. And that doesn't happen in 2 hours, and that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen by me going, I've got 4 lines to catch them. You know what I mean? Like it kind of, I don't know. There's a spiritual aspect to this,
In what way?
and just the writing process. It comes from somewhere, not me. You know what I mean?
I do. It's interesting that you say it's like you couldn't avoid it.
Yeah.
It's like this idea that you can't get rid of,
Right.
where it's a little bit more of a golden cage scenario where, or maybe not that, but it would be more like you're trapped by it.
Yeah.
It's not even people. Some people think you sit down to be creative,
Yeah.
as opposed to just like, with fear of sounding overly pretentious and artsy fartsy, but like, you don't like. It's just something you are.
Yeah. It's not a job title.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't. Yeah.
You
don't
can't
go to work and
manufacture
be
it.
creative at 9 and be done being creative at 5.
And that's where it's kind of a trap.
Yes, you're absolutely right about that.
I think it took my wife a while to figure it out, where it was, like getting up in the middle of the night to go, like I'm in the bathroom trying to record a voice memo, or like at just weird times, I'm kind of reclusive at bizarre times.
Yeah.
And I'm withdrawn.
That has a lot to do with kind of where you're like being able to get songs off your chest or not be able to, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does to me.
And it's not particularly fun. Like there's times it comes up and I'm like, oh, right now.
Yeah. The doing is, I agree. It can be pretty laborious, but there's no better feeling in the world than finishing a song, dude.
Yeah, it's almost like a paradoxical feeling.
Yes.
Big word. That was
Whoa.
Don't let the cowboy hat fool you. This guy's sharp.
This dude is sharp. Says some of my paradoxes. Paradigms.
Paradiddles. But it is. It's the best feeling, yet sometimes I get into it. And maybe also, we were kind of talking about this when we first came in, but there's a lot of songwriters, and on the flip side, like maybe mixing engineers and mastering engineers, there's few people that have taken the spark of creativity and then seen that through the entire process of like making a record. So like get the spark, create it, write the song, write the lyrics, get the melody, get the chord arrangement, now get the band arrangement, now do the pre-production. How are we going to record it? Where are we going to record it? What gear, what mics, what preamps, then like how are we going to mix it? Then we get it mastered, then like album artwork, how are we going to present it, the marketing side of it. Like very few people, and like indie artists do every facet of that, which is cool. But I think it gives you a unique perspective that like some people haven't done that entire process. So maybe when I get that spark of creativity, I'm like, it's almost like a little bit of PTSD, like where you're like,
interesting.
I mean,
man.
I'm saying that,
like, no, I know what you
tongue
mean.
in cheek.
It's like, oh crap.
It's not real PTSD, but like, it's like, oh gosh.
This is going to be a song.
Here
we go.
Then I'm going to, oh God.
And then I'm going to second guess it. And then I'm going to try to record it and it's going to suck.
Yep.
And
then I'm going to have to retrack it.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to mix it twice. And I'm not going to like the way I did the vocals.
The artwork. I don't like the artwork. Yeah, I know.
So it's like all those feelings start to come up.
Boy, howdy. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
And you're right. I mean, I can't say that there's been a time when me as a writer went into the studio during the recording of one of my songs. Like that's kind of not my domain.
Gosh, doesn't that kind of suck though?
I know. But there are people that may do it. I don't know who those people are, but like it's almost like you sort of, well, I mean, I can't speak unanimously, but like it seems like the writer's room is, like you said, it's one facet of it. Then it goes into the studio, and that's another facet of it. And the two don't, unless it's the artist that has been part of the writing, like the two don't really mix. You don't really see that.
I already had just some of my first experiences with hearing some stuff that I co-wrote, and I had nothing to do with the recording process or anything. And it's interesting. There's some basic stuff that I thought was pretty telegraphed in terms of like groove and just some things. And I was like, oh,
they didn't pick up on it.
Clearly they weren't.
Wow. How'd that make you feel?
How did it make me feel? It made me feel slighted and disrespected.
Yes, correct. Yes.
No, it was like, I guess it was probably, I usually try to not think somebody else did anything wrong. I usually try to take the the blame the best I can, where it's like, oh, yeah, I definitely should have put in more effort and like probably just made the effort to like really cut a demo. That wasn't very smart. Like, you know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
do. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know
and then
what you
really
mean.
drill some things home.
There's no way to. I mean, it's hard to.
But I'm inexperienced too, and I don't have like a ton of, you know, like there's part of it too. Like I'm not some big time songwriter walking in there like
Yeah.
being able to freaking call the shots.
Yeah.
Like there's a part of me that's like happy to be there.
We're
And
going
I'm-
to keep this line because I'm Adam Hood, and that's what we're going to do. I don't care if it rhymes or not.
Yeah, and like I'm okay. Like I just know that that's how. Like it. Like if you're going to a freaking, I don't know. Like if you're going to a Brandon with some people that you've never worked with before, and like I'm gonna walk in and start telling, hey, no, that's not the way we do it. And he's like, well, this is my ranch.
Right.
So what are you talking about? Like
Same thing.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah. It's better to sort of absorb and adapt to what other people, it's like you said, especially if you're walking into their environment, you know. I agree.
But maybe there's a little bit of, it's not disappointment, but it's just
It's
kind of
hard
like,
not to take it personal, you know.
maybe. Well, but no, I don't think. Well, I guess it depends on the song. Some of the experiences I've had, the artist is like really ran with it. Like you know, like it was a co-write, but like they really ran with it. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's where they went with it. All right, like, you know, I don't think that they were sitting there like,
here's what we're gonna do. He's gonna hate this. Yeah, I know what you mean.
And intent, like everybody's trying to do their best,
right?
Which it's tough for me to get pissed at people if they're doing their best.
Right. That's the interpretation aspect of it, you know?
Okay.
I mean, that's, you know, you sort of, and I'm with you though. I mean, it just depends on the song. Like if it, you know, I mean, if it was a song about my kids, I really wouldn't want you to change it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, if I wrote a song about my kids and you wanted it to be like about a party girl instead, like, let's not do that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, you know, I mean, if your kids are like my kids and you want to sing one of my songs because you can relate and you want to put your kid's name where my kid's name was, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
You know,
I always thought it was really interesting. It feels a little bit backwards with the way sometimes songs are, I guess, in the more corporate sense of you have songwriters and then you have the session musicians and the producer, and they're very, very separate.
Right.
And I've always thought that was a little weird because some of the environments I've been in, we'll cut a demo, like as songwriters, you like cut a demo and we're all like half-ass musicians,
right?
Not very good. We're pretty creative, but in terms of like recording, we're not doing anything very unique. And especially nowadays with a lot of like programmed drums and just, there's a lot of just stock sounds that you use to cut demos just to get something down. But then it's like you've already developed some tones and some ideas of sonically how this thing's supposed to sound.
Yeah.
And then you're going to give these demos. And like, I've been in the room, like with like the highest level session players in Nashville are cutting songs based on what they're hearing in the demo in the control room day of. They hear the song and never heard it before. And they go, okay, yeah, it's that thing. Okay, cool. All right, we got it. And then they go in and track it. And they're using a lot of the same tones and ideas that these like not really great musicians have developed. And I'm like, isn't this a little backwards?
The job's been done. Yeah. By the time they get there, the job's been done.
But yet the guys who are cutting the record are like some of the best players in the world, but they're just copying parts from the not best players in the world.
Right.
Like, shouldn't it be the other way around?
I feel like it should be.
Like the development of the ideas and the sounds and the production and the arrangement. Like, why don't we have the great guys do it?
Yeah. But there are two schools of it. You know what I mean? Like there's guys that sort of, I mean, and I know specifically people that do like that. But then, you know, I wrote for Dave Cobb for 5 years and I got to watch him in the studio. And I mean, he's an orchestra conductor. And, you know what I mean? Like there's, you know, during the tracking and I mean, pre-production into production, like, you know, at RCA, there's the big room. And so Dave would take his acoustic guitar and he would sit here and then they would put, you know, artist and then guitar player and then bass and then Chris would be in the drum room. You know what I mean? But Dave was right there. He wasn't asking how this goes. Usually he didn't really want to hear any songs that you had until you got into the studio. Like when you get there and he'd go, all right, what you got? You know? Because with Brent's second record, Providence Canyon, they did that at RCA, and so I was around for some of that. I think I wrote 2 songs on that record. So I was around for some of that.
Yeah.
But and that was the deal, you know. I mean, it was like, well, okay, what are we going to do here? What do you got today, Brent? And he would play him something, and Dave would say, I like that, or what else you got?
I don't think I've been in that environment yet.
Correct. Yeah. But that environment does exist.
Okay.
However, the other one that you were talking about, where it's like, you know, the demo is the demo is the version, and they just recreate a version of the demo.
Yeah, with just some nicer gear.
I don't understand it.
So-
That never made any sense to me either.
Okay. All right. I'm not crazy then.
No, you're not crazy at
Yeah.
all. I mean, in fact, so I've got a record, my Shape of Things record. It's basically demos. I mean, when I was at Carnival, I was there for 7 years, and I think I demoed like 50 songs. So I mean, like I made 5 records, you know, at Carnival when I was there, and so but out of the my first 4 years, we pulled from the demos and made that, because I'm with you. I mean, we had a stellar band, and we went to Omnisound, and we like, this is a record
For the demos?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And that's why we put them out.
No
you know, it's like
kidding.
these demos sound like a record because they were made like a record. So let's make it a record. We
Yeah,
put it
that's
out.
sick.
Yeah. It was great. I mean, it was a great time, you know, but I mean, it was, I couldn't abide these being demos, you know, and still plenty of them are. I mean, like I said, I only recorded 11, or I only put out 11 on that Shape of Things record, but then there's all these other ones, you know, and some of them aren't that great, but most of them are pretty well made, you know?
Yeah.
And, but again, like you said, I mean, these are, you know, top notch musicians, you know?
Yeah.
So
when you got the Goki, it was Danny Goki, right? And
Mhm.
the song was Be Somebody.
right.
That one did well, correct?
I don't know.
No clue.
I have no clue. I went to the CD release party, and it was like a listening party, and that's it. I mean,
Well, because that would have been his first. Was that his first single?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, Danny Goki had like a thing after that show.
Yeah.
I don't know where he is now.
I don't either.
Yeah.
But somebody was.
I thought he does like Christian music.
Yeah, he
or
does
something.
Christian music.
Okay. Yeah. That's funny. You don't know.
I don't know.
Huh.
I probably should.
So
I should know a lot of things I don't know.
So that got in the front door through your pub deal.
Yes, correct. Second cut I got was a song called Front Porch Thing I wrote with Stapleton, and that was on Little Big Town record. Like, that one was significant. That was the one that, like, there's a platinum album on my wall because of it. You know what I mean? Like, that was nice.
What's that feel like?
Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Did it give you confidence?
A lot of confidence. Yeah.
Did it give you too much confidence at
I
times?
don't think so. No, I don't think too much confidence is in my wheelhouse. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
not an overconfident guy. You know what I mean? It's not what I do.
Do you think songwriters specifically, do you think they typically err on one side of that more often in your experience?
I don't know. Probably. Yeah.
Overly confident or under?
Yeah. And I mean, that's what we were just talking about earlier. Like, you know, I've realized more and more as I've done this, you know, to try to be someone who writes songs that other people are going to record. Like, you know, people, I mean, even if you were the best, like, people just aren't, I mean, folks are going to knock on your door, but not really, you know. And even if they do knock on your door, like, what are you going to give them, you know? So you kind of need to, you know, there's a certain amount of self-esteem that you really need to have. And, you know, the good thing is the separation is, you know, the song is me, but it's kind of not me. You know what I mean? Like, this is just this one picture right here. And so, you know, I wrote this song the other day. Sounds like something you'd do. Here you go. You know what I mean? And you send it to whoever that artist may be, and they say, yeah, I like that song. Or they say, no, I don't care much for it, you know? And then, you know, you go on from there.
Had you and Stapleton, I would imagine y'all had written together.
That was the only time we ever wrote.
First and last time.
Mm-hmm.
And you got a huge cut with Little Big
Yeah.
Town.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah.
How did y'all get introduced to each other?
He was at Seagale, Like this was before he was Chris Stapleton.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But like after the Steel Drivers though. So kind of around that time where like the Jumpson Brothers record hadn't come out yet. Like, I mean, I don't know that they put that Jumpson Brothers record out until after Traveler anyway, but like that was a band, and I knew like everybody said he had made a record that was that, and this was before Traveler. Before
But he
was,
had already got some big cuts.
oh yeah, all the George Strait cuts and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean he had already done that.
Yeah, so walking into Right with him was still a big deal.
A very big deal. Yeah,
Was it a piecemeal kind of song, or did y'all knock it out?
I think we knocked it out. Yeah, I've got the demo of it, like Chris singing it.
Really?
You know? Yeah. It's pretty awesome. That guy can really sing.
Can we play it? Is that a
Yeah.
thing?
I guess. If I play it like this, will it pick it up?
Will you just put it up into the mic?
Okay, cool.
What's the name of the song again?
It's called Front Porch Thing.
By Little Big Town.
Yes. But this is the demo. Okay.
What year you think y'all wrote this?
I'll tell you.
That's so cool.
All right. Well, I got to spell it right. Front Porch T.
Is he a pretty approachable guy?
I haven't seen him since.
Oh, sure. But in at that time, was he a relatively open-minded creative?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, as
Yeah.
far as like his creativity, yeah, he was. I'd say he was in the thick of it.
I can
because-
imagine him being a pretty reserved kind of person.
Yeah, I don't feel like we had a whole lot of conversation.
Yeah.
You know, but then I say, in as much as I say that, like, oh, sorry, you know, you listen to this thing and you go, huh, okay, maybe I'll do this. Hang on, sorry. But he was reserved. But I just don't think the guy talks all that much, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I wonder.
okay.
Yeah, I always often wonder, like, what would I do in those moments? I've already had some moments where I'm with some people that, whatever you want to call it, are star power.
I understand what you mean by that.
And I always wondered how I'm a relatively irreverent person when it comes to a lot of that stuff. I don't know exactly where that comes from. I think it's a good thing that I have that, because I don't get terribly, I'm very, I like to be complimentary. I don't like to play it cool, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Like, I like to be like, hey, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
Like, I really like your stuff.
But it's an appreciation of what you do. You don't have
Yeah.
to, like, you're not starstruck. Yeah.
Okay, but what's in recent past, there's been some people I've been around that you hear people describe the whole like it factor. They just have it, and you can't put your finger on it, and you think you've been around it before.
Mhm.
And then when you're around it, it's like,
You feel worthless. You know, I mean, I do. I feel like, God, what am I doing? You know, this guy's got it. But I remember
sometimes I'm in, like, I am
know.
like,
that's
whoa,
impressive. Yeah, yeah.
whoa.
But I heard Clapton say, like, he was talking about Stevie Ray, and he was like, it just made me want to quit. You know, so guys like Clapton have
Yeah.
seen someone else's artistry and gone, I don't want to do this anymore.
Okay, but that's based on their artistry and their
Correct.
craft.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm talking about like this thing that like you just,
Their aura,
dude,
they glow.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
you know, it's a, and what's interesting too is what I've seen is like, it can be even somebody that you don't maybe particularly jive with.
Yeah.
And like in some respects, they might even be kind of lame. Like they're not very cool.
Yeah.
And like, you don't really like, they're not even particularly friendly, but there is just like,
Yeah. There's like a halo around him or something.
Dude,
Like you, that
weird.
guy glows.
so I was kind of,
That's pretty funny.
so I actually have been happy that doesn't, if anything, I just kind of look at it. I'm like, wow, good for you.
Yeah.
But like,
right?
I don't know.
I
It
saw-
doesn't totally freak me out.
I know. I used to tour with Leon Russell a long time ago. I was on the road with him for 3 years, and we played a place in San Diego. It's called the Belly Up, and Bo Derek came to the show, and like, talk about it factor.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life, man. You know what I mean? Like you could tell, like she had, like it's like it's like almost not real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like her skin wasn't real, you know, like but she just walked right past me. And so I was like, wow, that's Bo Derek. I was like, wow, she's beautiful, you know? So I know exactly what you mean. That was definitely a moment where I was like, okay,
Something's different.
she just looks like, yeah, she's just born with this look.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even have to have any talent. You can just get on the stage, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did
I
you
found
find it?
Yep.
So this is
the
Chris
demo.
singing it.
Yep.
Put it like way up in there. This is like a raw demo.
He played it on a tenor guitar. Right.
What year is that?
2010.
Dude, that is not a popular country sound in
By no
2010.
means. I mean, it's not bluegrass. It's almost like
It's definitely bluesy.
yeah,
but
it's
a
like
lot
an
of most of your
Appalachian kind of like a bluegrassy, like blues on the bluegrass side of things. That tenor guitar really was what kind of made that tune, and he plays it in G, which is so we recorded it in E, which is a considerable step lower.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, because I can't sing it in G.
No, I wouldn't be able to either.
Yeah, but
that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to like listen to something with the context of like now you hear his voice and it's so clear. People's like always like if you listen back to something like that, they're like, oh, he was always a star.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
not even him specifically, but
Yeah.
that type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like when he was a nobody or when you didn't know of him, you'd have heard that guy have been standing in the corner and singing and you wouldn't have paid a bit of attention to him.
100%. I went to the Station Inn one time with Wade Bowen. We were both in Nashville at the same time, and he said, "Come meet me down at the Station Inn." And I was like, "Okay, well, fine." And so I met him down there, and I don't even remember who was playing, but it was a bluegrass band, and Chris was sitting in a chair, and all the bluegrass band was they were dressed, they had black suits on, and Chris had overalls in his hat, you know, and there was no one there, no
Yeah.
one. I mean, it was Wade and the lady that he was with. I think she worked at Sony, and me and maybe 3 other people. That was it. And like he was just sitting in a chair in his overalls, and I'd never heard anything like that before. I mean, the guy his voice is otherworldly.
Dude, that's why it's so special. Like the point I'm at in my career, if that's what you want to call it, is like I'm not a household name, but I get to like cut records and make like a decent living just
Yeah.
doing what I want to do. And but the people that are into my music, like they're only into it because they're into it.
Right. Yeah, right.
It's not because they're freaking. I mean, there's a little bit of it, but like, and I'm not even saying it's bad to like stuff that's popular. I like a lot of stuff that's super popular, massive worldwide smashes, but I don't like them only because they're popular.
Right.
I like them because they're dope.
Yeah, popular songs that were written well.
Yeah, or like
performed well.
yeah, and I
composed
mean,
well.
if I were to just be sitting on my back porch,
Produced
no
well.
context, just somebody played it for me, I'd be like, this is a smash.
Yeah, right.
I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
Whether or not it is or isn't. And so it's like so special. I try to focus on like a lot of people I meet that like, I'm sure you're the same way. People that are like into your music where it's like, man, it's so special to see people that are into something purely because they just like it. They don't
agree.
like it because anybody else likes it. And that's such a cool thing. Like in the indie world, there's a lot of people that are like that.
They pay your bills, man. I
Man.
mean, you know, and that's, you know, you just like not being independent, I think would rob you of that. And that's that's kind of my life force, you know. I mean, that's the knowing people and knowing people like that and having them say to me things like that.
Yeah.
I thrive on it, man, you know. And I mean, well, I think most of us probably need a pat on the back every now and then, but but it means a lot for people to say, you know, this music touched me, you know.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I'll get like these. I got one recently that like I played an acoustic show, and this girl sent me like it was probably like 6 bullet points of like things that she enjoyed about the show.
Wow.
And they like each one was like a paragraph.
Really?
But they were like very specific details. I was just like blown away to take the time to do it. And it's funny too. People, I'm sure you get it. They'll say, I don't mean to be like creepy or whatever, but like,
I'm not a stalker.
I always say,
man, somebody said that to me last night. I'm not a stalker. I said, man, I wish I had more stalkers.
Please stalk me. Come here. Turns out I'm the stalker.
I give my address. Yeah, I'm the crazy one.
People will be like, I don't mean to be weird, but I just like, I really like your music, or I like this specific song. And I'm like, that's not weird at all. You know, what's weird is like sitting in the dark for 8 hours and writing it.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
That was weird.
That was weird.
Making it was weird. You like it, it's not weird.
That's not bad at all.
Totally normal. You're way more normal than me.
That's really funny, dude.
Yeah. So what's your general thoughts on where you head now, and like what's kind of your focuses? Because like do you have a pub deal still?
No, I've been out of the publishing thing for
business has changed quite a bit.
It's changed, yeah. And I don't live in Nashville. You know, you kind of have to. In that you don't have to, but you sort of need to. It sort of needs to be your daily grind, you know. And it can be my daily grind at home in Tuscaloosa, but it's just not. It's I don't know. The industry's changed enough to where I don't necessarily need the pub deal right now, you know.
I think you know enough people and know enough artists that
Correct.
like if you have stuff that you like, you can just do you just send it to them, or you say, hey.
I mean, people will say, you know, hey man, I'm going to the studio next week. What you got? And I mean, I'll just dig through my work tapes and stuff like that. I call them work tapes, my recordings, and find those kind of things and just send them what I think sounds the most appropriate, you know. And that's all you can do.
Do you try to think about like what they would like?
100%.
Okay.
I think that's important.
Okay.
I mean, and it's a form of respect as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? To be like, you know, this is probably, you know the keys that they can sing in. You know what I mean? You don't have to, you know, study their catalog, but it's, you know, Brent and I talk about this all the time that, you know, when you're writing for an artist, you kind of want to go in there with 2 ideas, you know, like, and 2 ideas that like you learn or that you gather listening through their catalog, or just kind of coming up with something that would suit them. You know what I mean? Instead of going, you know, okay, well, here's the deal. All right, so we're writing with this lady. We're going to sing a bunch of lady songs, you know, or sing a bunch of man songs. And, you know, like there's not a whole lot of girls cutting beer drinking songs and stuff like that. So you don't want to show up with a co-write with a female and have a bunch of beer drinking songs.
Sure.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a little bit of you want something that complements what they're doing.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, I'm not to say that women can't, you know, record beer drinking songs. That's not the case. But I want to be prepared in the right frame of mind, the right avenue, I guess.
Yeah, man. So what was the connection to Texas? Like why out here? Like
I don't know. I just came out here. So Justin, the guy I was telling you about. Okay, so we made that EP in his basement in Birmingham in 2004. Well, he was working with a guy named Jeff Krennick, who was at New West Records at the time. And so Justin introduced me to Jeff. Jeff kind of took me on managing me. He lived in Lakeway. And so we just, you know, came out here for South by Southwest and just started playing around here, you know. And but I've always, you know, I remember when Pat Green started coming to Alabama. I mean, I went to see him play when he played the Supper Club and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I remember Blue and you know, Corey Morrow and those guys. So like the music scene, Ragweed, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like that music scene was available to me. So I knew it existed. And so when I got here, I knew that this was kind of a place where you could, you could get heard if you wanted to. 6th Street was, was still a thing. I mean, Momo's was still down there. There was places to play live music on 6th Street, and so, but it was kind of the tail end of everything, but it was right on time for me. I mean, it was a good time to be doing that. So,
Yeah. And then so you got linked up with writing with a number of Texas
through
artists.
Frank, basically, because Frank's from
Okay.
Houston, and like the same thing, just writing with Miranda, and then I wrote with Stoney and Wade and all those guys, and I wrote with them in Nashville, basically. So because a lot of them worked with Frank.
Yeah. What were some of the tunes that you wrote with, or
I wrote a song called Wiregrass with Stoney that was on that Velvet record.
dude, Stoney is a very underrated player,
Correct.
in my opinion.
He's a monster guitar player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was the name of it?
It's called Wiregrass.
Wiregrass.
Mm-hmm. I wrote that one. And Frank produced that record. He produced the Velvet record.
Okay.
So that was kind of where that came from.
That's on Velvet?
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite one.
It's a great record.
Also, an insanely underrated record.
I agree.
I think it's for sure his most underrated record. I think it's a super underrated Texas record.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Has like a very acoustic feel to it.
It's just mellow, it's a real mellow record,
It's amazing.
and everything's lighthearted. And even though the songs may not necessarily be, they don't beat you over the head with their melancholy. You know what I mean? That's hard to do, man. It's, if the lyrical context is sad, then the musical context probably is sad. You know what I mean? And if you don't do it like that, it almost contradicts both of them. You know what I mean? There's a fine line between like making it lighthearted, but still like this is a sad song,
How about with Wade? What's some stuff you worked with?
I
with
wrote,
him on?
he made a record called The Given. I wrote a song called, Battle Won, Battle Lost.
Yeah.
I wrote that one. And then I wrote, a song called Say Anything. I wrote both of those. And I write with Wade. I keep in touch with him a lot, but we haven't really written all that much. That was a long time ago too, like writing with him. But then I wrote a song for Randy. So, I mean, Randy, the apartment that I stay in Nashville, Randy owns it. So, I mean, he's kind of like our landlord, you know what I mean? So it's me and Brent and Randy. There's a guy from Texas, a guy from Alabama, and a guy from Georgia that stay in this, we just kind of, is the apartment open this weekend? You know what I mean? So, so I talked to Randy a lot, but I wrote a song on that record, the one that's got the truck on it. It's the one Dave Cobb produced, but that was when I was writing.
The blues one?
Yeah.
Neon Blues? Does that have a truck on it?
I don't think so. It's called like Whirlwind or.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. Look it up.
Okay.
Please.
Hellbent. Yes.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah. Like the last song on there. Good One Coming On, I think, or something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I wrote that one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But then you got into the Jinks orbit too at some point.
Yes.
Which he's like a Rubik's Cube in certain ways.
Totally.
I mean, he's in his own orbit.
Special guy, man.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, like, I mean, he's one of those people that like the dividends just pay off. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he's, that he's really great at your relationship with him creating relationships with other people. You know what I mean? And it's easy to do that and it feel like networking. You know what I mean? But not with Cody. I don't feel like it's networking. He has a lot of friends, and the people in his camp are really helpful to me, and they'll, send me, people to write with and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, he's pretty helpful. I don't even know where that came from. I guess probably because of Jason, because
Eady.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Yeah. Because, Jinks and Jason would play shows around Fort Worth and stuff like that. And, Cody worked at the Stockyards when he worked at the White Elephant, and I was playing there, a fair amount. So I don't remember it. Again, I was drinking, so we, we were fairly acquainted. And then I wrote that song Mercy with Cody.
Wow.
And then that Changed the Game record. I wrote 2 songs on that one. I wrote Deceiver's Blues, and then I wrote the other one. Oh shoot, A Few More Ghosts. I wrote that with Brian Martin and Jake Worthington. And
Brian
Cody.
Martin.
Yeah,
He kind of had a streak there of
I've been on the ride of views on
Yeah.
ride of views.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a big song
Big
for
one.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I just maybe met him.
He's still around.
Yeah. And then you said it was Jake Worthington?
Mhm.
Was the other? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. It was fun though.
That's an interesting room.
Well, I mean, that's what, like I said, I mean, Jinx just pulls people like,
Yeah.
I would have never done that
Yeah.
had it not been for Cody doing it. And I
Very
mean,
cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah.
That's probably why his music resonates.
He surrounds himself with talented artists.
Yeah, and different styles.
Yeah. I mean, from one pole to the next. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw he just put out like something with like the Lamb of God guitar player or something like that.
Love it.
Like crazy. You know,
That's what it's. I mean, I think I sound like I'm beating a dead horse. I say this all the time, but like in the creative process, no matter what stage you're at in it, I think most people would be shocked as like the references that you use and the influences that come in that they would have no idea, never even consider.
Oh yeah.
You know, like people get pretty tribal about music, obviously, where it's like, that ain't country. This is traditional country, blah, you know, that kind of thing.
Yes.
You know, or like
With any genre.
Yeah. And there's some validity to what they're saying, and I can appreciate it to a certain degree, but it's like the idea of somebody being like, Merle and Willie is real country. If it ain't that, and it's like, well, ironically, when they were coming out doing their thing, people were saying the same thing about their music.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, they were
So-
the innovators at the time.
Yeah, and it's like what, like Merle does
Interesting.
it's like let's track two different drummers going over top of each other, and then do this like Motown funk thing. Like it was funk drumming.
It was, yeah. The
It's-
setup on it, like the
Yeah.
playing and stuff, yeah, it was
Yeah.
like Motown.
Yeah.
But it didn't. You don't hear Motown at all. You do if you, to a trained ear, you know.
Yeah.
If
Well,
you recognize
those
that.
players were like, ooh, what if we did this?
Yeah.
And then you get the guy at the back of the bar that's like,
Hey, country.
yeah. Well, and then fast forward 30 years.
This is country.
I just can't wait to meet that guy. But he actually does know what he's talking about. And he's like, and I'm like, what do you mean it ain't country? And he's like, no, unless you're doing Motown, I'm talking dead drums, you know, really compress them right though. But you know, and then double up the tracks though and do the funk thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, maybe you could even work in a little Purdy shuffle. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy does know what he's talking
You,
about.
sir, I underestimate you.
You, sir. He's just hammered.
Yeah, he's just drunk. He don't know what he's talking
It's
about.
like that guy that does the dancing thing on, is it Reno 911? Where she's like, have you been drinking? And she gets him to do the dances. And she's like, step, bump, bump.
Oh yeah, it was like his like sober driver thing. Yeah,
And then he gets to the end and he's like, well, I can't do that. I'm drunk. And she's like, oh, you got me. When did,
That's
so
funny.
you said you got sober?
April.
Speaking of
Speaking of drinking.
Speaking of drinking.
Yes, April will be 7 years.
Oh yeah. So it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's great. It's great. And you know, it's one of those things to where like it's an escape. You know what I mean? Like if like, you know, it's the way to get out of the place that you're in without getting out of the place that you're in. You know
Whoa.
what I mean?
Oh,
And
thanks, dude.
but it got to the point to where like I wanted to be in the places I was in, so I wanted to be present for it, you know. And then just, you know, it starts to affect your memory. It just, the negatives outweigh the positives, and I'd had enough, you know.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
I heard somebody describe it like the highs aren't quite as high anymore, but the lows aren't nearly as low.
Yeah.
And then the middle ground starts to feel like pretty good.
Yeah.
Not really middle ground, but then
Learning how to live with being level. Yeah.
yeah.
It's strange, you know. But that's the hard part. Like, I don't know. It's having to sit with the things that made you drink and deal with them, not drink it, which is tough, you know. And that's the stuff that, like, well, I got a song called The Harder Stuff that is exactly that, you know. I mean, it's, you know, I haven't given up. I'm taking on the harder stuff. This is more difficult. It's more difficult to do this sober than it is to do it.
Yeah, that's a great song too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Really great.
Well, thank you. I
Double
appreciate it.
entendre.
Yeah, it's entendre.
Look at that. Another SAT.
Paradox, entendre.
Dude, I'm telling you, my
That
guy's
boy.
crushing it today.
He reads a lot of books.
But now today it's audiobooks now. You know?
Right.
Don't get me to write the word down. Can't do it.
I know. I tell people I read all the time. You don't read. You listen to audiobooks. Yes, I read
I know. What a weird.
with my ears.
I know. Because you're still learning.
Yeah, it's a book. I finished it. I know what it's about. Do you know what it's about?
God.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
but yeah, reading. It does put me to sleep though. I read at night.
Yeah.
I have figured that one out.
Really?
Is that getting older? Like now it's like I look forward to like just getting into bed and like starting to read a little bit.
I don't know.
What?
Getting older is like learning to live with pain is getting older, basically.
Yeah.
That's what my father-in-law said. And my shoulder hurts. You know what I mean? Like that every time I have like an ailment, I think, oh, this is learning to live with pain, you know? So that's getting older. Wanting to sit in the bed. That's my daughter wants to do that.
Emotionally and physically, just learning to live with pain.
Yeah, that's right.
But you can't have one with the other. You can't feel good without feeling bad.
That's right. Which one do you want less?
Which one do you want less? God dog it. How many times do people like try to give you song ideas?
A lot.
Like on the napkin or whatever?
Yeah. I got this idea.
Oh my gosh.
Listen, here's what we're going to do.
Listen.
It's called Beer Goggles.
Oh,
or whatever the scenario may be. Yeah. And it's like, that's good. You going to write it?
Oh.
Yeah. Good. Because I'm ready to get rich.
He says with a guttural, it's not even a yeah. Talk about pain.
Ow.
Dude, I'd like people giving you just lyrics. Like I just can't even. I've never read them.
Really?
No, I've read them, but I've never read them where. I don't know, man. It's so weird. No one thinks about melody near enough.
Yeah.
It's just like it's pretty rare you read something. I did this experiment with one of my buddies the other day because he's like obsessed with Guy Clark, and I love Guy Clark, but he's more on the side of like, I wouldn't say melody doesn't matter, but he's a little bit more on the side of like, yeah, but because we were testing it where he's like, well, just read these lyrics, and he's pulling up his favorite Guy Clark lyrics, and he'd read them off, and I'd be like, I mean, it's good.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's quite as profound as you want it to be.
Just the lyrics itself.
The lyrics itself.
The song is what makes it that much better. Yeah.
Or like how he delivers it and stuff. And sure, there's some epic things and there's some epic like turns of phrase and some thoughts and stuff. Sure, I get it.
Just as a poem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like why is poetry not that popular?
Wadsworth. Yeah, exactly.
Because there's some crazy poetry out there.
Yeah, there sure is. But they don't translate it into songs, you know. Some of them probably do. But I do know what you're saying. I mean, and that's the thing, like, you know, there's meter to words, like, you know, there's timing to things like that. And then I feel like that there's context that like deserves a key, you know, G's, E's, A's, B's, things like that, you know. Yeah. I kind of attribute them to other artists, like songs in B, like that's soul music, Sam and Dave, stuff like that. E's, A's, that's blues. G, country music. D, country music, you know. And so I kind of, it's by no means across the board like that, you know, and then capos get involved and we're all screwed, but you know what I mean? But nonetheless, like, you know, that's kind of how I look at it so that I can categorize, you know, and if I have a line and I find where the meter is in it, and this is, you know, it could either be a waltz or it could be straight or whatever. And if it's straight, let's try it on the bluesy side of things, you know what I mean? Or try it on the R&B side of things, you know?
If there was like two things that like fans of yours could do to help you, not necessarily financially, but like two things that they could do on a relatively regular basis that would like inspire you, help give you some confidence, make you feel good, support you. What would be like two things that they could do on a regular basis that like are meaningful to you? They can be financially too.
Yeah. Just showing up to gigs, man. I mean, and you know, that seems the obvious game, but like there have been a lot of scenarios where we've gone, you know, we've finally bit the bullet and come to this town and, man, so-and-so's down the road right there. We can't come see you tonight. Sorry about that. come back next time, and you kind of bust your butt to get to these places after, like, you got to come here, man. You got to play here, and so, and just, that's the thing that makes me feel better, when people show up that appreciate your music, there you go. I mean, and when people don't, it's a little bit of it's a little sad.
So a lot of times they don't know it's happening.
I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, I think it's they just, either unaware or have other obligations. And I got kids too. I get it.
What's a specific way that they could easily stay in touch with, like, where you're having shows? Because social media is tough because a lot of times you just don't see the posts.
My website.
Yeah. So do you have an email list?
I do, but we don't utilize it as much as we should. I have a Patreon page, which is kind of
very cool.
It's my Patreon page is unique, and I'll tell you off the screen what it is. Like,
is it like a OnlyFans kind of sitch?
Yes, kind of.
I like it.
Yes,
very bold.
Feet pics with my boots.
With the boots.
Yes, correct.
But you cut the tip of the boot off, so it's just toes.
So the toe comes out. They love it.
Say it slower, Daddy.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, we'll talk about it off.
Okay, yeah, but the Patreon thing that's kind of that's a direct membership kind of thing. But we should, I guess we do have a newsletter that we send out. Yeah.
Maybe tour dates or something.
Yeah, stuff like that. And when a single's coming out, I mean, usually we kind of wait around.
Okay.
Are
y'all going to be playing a lot this spring?
Yeah. I mean, this is the first weekend playing with the band since like the first weekend in December. So, I mean, it's, we've had a nice break, and we're hitting the road. I got a single coming out with Brent on Valentine's Day. It's called 4 on the Floor. So it's like Adam Hood and Brent Cobb. It's like a duo.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, y'all go listen to the single Valentine's Day.
Please do. Please.
What day is Valentine's Day?
It's a Friday.
Is it? It's coming up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
next week.
And next week. I don't know if this will be out by then.
That's fine.
I'm also glad that reminded me.
The song will be out. When it comes out, then that'll be out. It'll already be out. So
yeah. It is perfect. So go listen to it right now.
Right, that's right. It's out, available.
For real. And go follow them on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
Go click the physical follow button.
Yes. That's very beneficial. And I think that's one thing that people don't realize. I don't realize.
No, some of that stuff seems like you're going to get spammed with things. But even if you followed him on Spotify or something, you're still going to only see like occasionally things that come out. It just increases the odds that you're going to see it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you just a little bit more, like I said, it's a membership,
Yeah. Well, cool, man.
Yeah, man.
Well, thanks for doing this.
My pleasure.
Thanks for taking the time.
I've enjoyed
Hopefully we didn't go too far over. We probably did.
Good.
I'm long-winded.
I like it. Well, we have important things to talk about.
I know.
So, and I mean, I'm not on a tight schedule.
Well, I got to learn a lot too. It was really helpful.
You think so?
Yeah.
You learned something? Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, cool, y'all. Thanks for listening. Adios. Give them the, learn this is the millennial peace sign. Oh, you're doing the 2-eye stab.